welcome back to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. My name is Andrew Stillwell, checking in from North Carolina, and with me this week are my podcast co-host Shane Joseph in New England.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Shane. And then Eric Woolley out in California. Eric, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Andrew, Shane? Good to see you.
I'm hungry, which is a really good segue for this particular episode, because we're going to talk theme park food. Obviously, theme park food is becoming more and more of a integral part of a theme park experience. Parks are hiring executive chefs, and they're putting some crazy stuff out on menus that it's not just hot dogs, chicken fingers, and pizza. It's your local park anymore. But before we get into that, we're going to start with technically a listener question, but this is actually a question I stole from Twitter because I really, really liked the question. And it was at _theme_geek on Twitter. He asked a question recently. He said, I asked this on Instagram already, but if you could combine two theme park restaurants like a Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, which two would you choose? And Eric, I'm going to ask you that question first.
Yeah, so I was trying to think of, which I know some of the answers to him on Twitter were definitely in a similar vibe, but I was trying to think of restaurants that I think have a really good ambience, but I wish had better food or different food. And so the first thing that popped into my mind was Blue Bayou at Disneyland, because it's very hard to get reservations, but it's beautiful. It's, along Pirates of the Caribbean runs along it. It's feels like it's night inside all the time. But the food's okay. It's fine, but it's not great. So I was thinking, in general, I feel like Disney California Adventure tends to have better food. So I would love to be able to eat in Blue Bayou, but eat the menu of something like Carthay Circle. Partially also because it would be really nice to be able to have a cocktail while watching boats go past in Pirates of the Caribbean, which in Disneyland, as you guys know, no alcohol. Screw that. Combine the two restaurants and give me a Manhattan while I watch Pirates of the Caribbean boats go by.
There you go. Shane, what about you?
So my two combinations are one Universal restaurant and one Disney restaurant. I would put the Three Broomsticks in Galaxy's Edge, or I guess the other way around, because Three Broomsticks, I'm not a big fan of the food. There's a lot of just like turkey legs and like potatoes and shepherd's pie, which I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff, especially not that kind of heavy stuff when you're rocking around a hot theme park. But I think the Galaxy's Edge menu is pretty great. So like the Oga's Cantina menu or the Docking Bay 7, I think, is the quick service. If those were in the Three Broomsticks, I think that would be a pretty perfect combination as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I think
nothing says Harry Potter like robots, right?
Yeah, that's so cool, right? The Star Wars theming inside the Harry Potter theming. That I would pay to see that movie.
Ultimate mashup.
Yeah, exactly.
Nerds of the world unite.
What's yours, Andrew?
I think I would go the regional park route. I would go with the Mac Bowl at King's Dominion, which, if you guys don't know, it's a kind of a build your own mac and cheese restaurant. So you pick your toppings. They've got a yellow, I think it's American cheese, and then like a white cheddar. But you pick a protein. You can throw anything you want on top of it, as far as anything from green onions to tomatoes to ranch dressing to barbecue sauce to Doritos. I mean, it's got the whole gamut of things. I would combine that with a staple of a lot of Cedar Fair parks, and it's got a different name everywhere, but I believe it's
Blue
Hank's
ice cream.
No, not blue ice cream.
Not blue ice cream.
It would be Hank's Mexican Grill at Kings Island or Burrito Cafe at Carowinds. Kind of just adding more to that build your own whatever. I mean, if you want to build a taco bowl with mac and cheese in it, or a mac and cheese with Mexican inspired ingredients, I think that would be a winner. That could just be my inner fat kid talking, because both those things sound really good right now.
Very nice. Very nice.
But on the subject of food, as I mentioned earlier, theme park food and the culinary experience is kind of becoming more and more prevalent in today's theme park experience. And so I've tasked the podcast, and I've got my own answers as well, to create somewhat of a Mount Rushmore of theme park food. And it's a typical Mount Rushmore would be 4 items. We do things differently, mainly because we couldn't decide on just 4. So we're going to go with a Mount Rushmore that is our favorite theme park restaurant, our favorite entree inside of a theme park, our favorite sweet or dessert item, our favorite beverage, and the 5th one is kind of a wild card. It can be a unique food item, it can be a snack, it can be an entire restaurant, whatever we really want it to be. But I'll go with you first, Shane. What is your favorite theme park restaurant?
My favorite theme park restaurant is Satuli Canteen at Disney's Animal Kingdom in their Pandora World of Avatar area. And I like it for a few reasons. The food is fantastic, and we'll get to that. But the theming around it is excellent. The land itself, Pandora, is one of the best themed theme park lands I've ever been in. It feels like you're absolutely immersed in there, and this restaurant is themed to, I don't know if either of you have seen the movie, but there's essentially this like military operation that goes to the planet to mine this precious metal. But this restaurant is kind of themed to the mess hall of the soldiers that are there. So it's half of it is like, the metal and the paint, the military theme, but then it's kind of worked into the nature around it. So you still have a lot of the wood and the leaves and the foliage that are in the land itself, combined with this kind of cold and flat military, and it just works really well for me. So my entree is going to be at the same restaurant. It is the beef and lo mein noodle bowl. It is fantastic. It is what I consider the best food I've ever had inside a theme park. The meat is great quality. It's cooked perfectly, and there's like an herb garlic seasoning dressing that they put on it. And there's so many flavors combined. So you have the beef, the noodles, the garlic and herbs, and then they have the little boba balls that you would get, at like a frozen yogurt place. But they have it mixed in there. So just there's so many flavors working so perfectly together.
I think that I had no idea that restaurant was themed to the bad guys in Pandora.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you get to go pretend you're one of the evil capitalist miners exploiting Pandora. That's good. That's much more fun than...
I think that it's themed to after they've been there. So the nature has retaken over. So you don't have to feel as bad because you're reclaiming the land, because they've got that old rusted robot. So hopefully, I think that means the soldiers have been gone for a while, so you can have a clean conscience when you're eating.
That makes sense. That makes more sense and fits with the timing of the ride.
Right.
I got it now.
I've now learned more about the movie Avatar than I've ever learned in my life.
You should definitely see it. If this helps, the precious metal that they're looking for, it's very hard to obtain. So they actually came up with the genius name of unobtainium. So the James Cameron and his brilliant team of writers really hit it out of the park. But no, I do love the movie. I'm ragging on that, but I do love the movie. And the land is...
I don't like it, but we shouldn't get into a bag on Avatar. That's a separate That's our spin-off podcast.
So next up, my sweet/dessert item. Mine's a tie because I don't know if it's a drink or a dessert for both of these. I have the milkshakes at Hershey Park and the butterbeer at Universal Parks. The Hershey Park milkshakes, I have not gotten the king-size shake because that is enough to feed a family. But I have gotten the regular-size milkshakes. I've gotten the regular Hershey's chocolate one, and I've gotten the Reese's peanut butter one. They're just so good. I mean, it's Hershey, so you know that you're getting a good quality product there. But it's perfect. It's not... Go ahead.
Those king-size shakes, is it basically like I guess the dessert equivalent of like a fancy Bloody Mary where they just start piling stuff on top of it?
Yeah, it's pretty much, it comes in this like almost like gallon-sized mason jar, and there's just ice cream and candy and whipped cream and caramel, depending on which one you get. but they're huge. So that that's pretty much your lunch, and you need to share it, because when me and Kyle are there, we were looking at it. First of all, they're expensive, so that should be it's the cost of an entree. So it's huge. So you're gonna need a few people to share that with. And then butterbeer, of course. I know there's a bunch of different flavors. I know there's hot and frozen and ice cream, but I've just had the regular butterbeer, and it's so good. It's we said this earlier. It's drinking butterscotch. What else can you want? And the foam is delicious, and you're in the land, in the Wizarding World, and you're walking around with a butterbeer. I mean, that's peak theme park right there, as far as I'm concerned.
Wait, you went just regular butterbeer? You didn't go frozen?
I don't know if they had it in California when I was there, because I wanted to try the different ones, but I think when I was there, so it was the off season, so it was like January. I know for a fact they didn't have the hot butterbeer, but I don't know about the frozen, and I only got it once. So I would have liked to try the different ones, but either they weren't available or I just didn't get it because I wanted the regular one the first time I went.
It sounds. Andrew, are you is frozen your go-to? Andrew,
oh
is
my
that
gosh,
your preferred?
Frozen is that's the only way to drink butterbeer, as far as I'm concerned.
See, I disagree. I think the regular is actually my favorite. I've gotten the hot on cold days in Hollywood, and I've tried the frozen. I think I had the frozen when I was at Disney World, but I think the regular is the frozen's like too annoying to drink. I think the cold is the perfect like middle ground of both easily drinkable while still as refreshing as drinking that much sugar can possibly be.
That's fair. Yeah, I've never tried the hot. I do know that when it comes out in Florida, when it gets super cold in Florida, so when the temperature gets below 70 degrees, they bring out the hot butterbeer, and if you're into hot, I'm not a big hot beverage person, so it's just.
I think the hot butterbeer is only works in very unique situations.
Right. Gotcha. Shane, what about your drink, your other drink?
So my drink, I have two combined here because I'm pretty sure they're the same thing. If not, they're extremely close. I consider them the same thing. It's back to Disney here. It's the Pandoran Sunrise at Pandora at Animal Kingdom, and the Porta Punch at Woody's Lunchbox in Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios. Both of them are essentially a tropical juice combined with Powerade. So I think there's a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of blueberry, and then they have the Powerade. Overall, it's just the taste is really good, but it's the most refreshing drink ever, especially hot, humid Florida weather. You need a break during the day. You get this, beautiful tropical Powerade, and it's cold and perfect on a hot theme park day, especially in Animal Kingdom. It gets pretty toasty in there. So that would be my pick. And then my wild card, I wasn't sure. So the craziest theme park food I've ever had is not actually at a theme park. It's at Disney Springs at a restaurant called the Edison. Great restaurant. I would definitely recommend it. The theming there is great, and they have a great environment and great food. But the craziest thing I ever had at a theme park was here. And it was around 4th of July last year. It was a specialty item, so I don't think it's available anymore. And I asked the waiter. This was the only one he'd ever served at the time. So if you're going, I would, definitely ask if they have it. I forget the name of it, but I just so essentially what it is
that's not very helpful, Shay.
No, it's not. But it's not available anymore. So you know what? It doesn't matter. It is a very large beef patty with cheese, bacon, onion, lettuce, a layer of fried macaroni and cheese. That's a burger there with a hot dog, mini hot dog, put in the top with a toothpick. I didn't finish it, by the way, but I got close. It's simultaneously gross and unbelievably delicious at the same time. It's like, because half of the fun of it is you're like, I shouldn't be eating this. No human should be eating this burger. However, it's very, very good.
And you're on vacation, so it's allowed.
Exactly. You're on vacation. I wouldn't eat this right before going into a theme park because you are not going to get very far. But in general, that's the wildest thing I've ever had. And then just in general, inside a theme park, the chicken and waffles in the Springfield section of both Universal parks, I think, have it. at the fried chicken restaurant is very, very good. The sauce, it's like a maple gravy glaze or something. It's just very good. Good quality chicken, and the waffles are nice and fluffy. Again, it's something that you eat it and then like go see a show or something. Like don't walk around after eating this, but definitely I would recommend it if you're at the Universal parks.
Cool. I've never had the chicken waffle from Cleus's. I think I've had fried chicken from them, and it is very, very solid fried chicken.
Yeah, it's good. I'd recommend it. The chicken is really good.
Eric, what about you? What is your fake Mount Rushmore of theme park food?
Yeah, this was tough. I think so. When trying to think of restaurants, I think the thing that stuck out in my mind, it might just be because of where it's located, but at Tokyo Disney Sea, Magellan's restaurant, which is sort of one of their in-the-park fine dining restaurants. Like a lot of the newer Disney restaurants, it's just like really beautiful in the restaurant, and it's filled with good theming and stuff like that. And there's lots of the little Disney touches that make it really nice, but I think it was combined of like the building that it's located in and what the interior looks like and the quality of the food. Of all restaurants that I've eaten in a theme park, I think that is the top, without too much question to me. In terms of entrees, that was more of a struggle because I don't know. Like I was trying to think of like sit-down restaurants that had really standout entrees to me. But honestly, the thing that these days I most regularly get when I'm at Disneyland is just a Ronto wrap. I think that it is almost the ideal theme park like walk around meal item. Like it's interesting enough that it stands out from just getting a sausage at like a fast food place or a diner, but it's still like really good and easy to walk around and filling.
Isn't it just a hot dog and a pita with some coleslaw? Is that? Am I a Ronto wrap skeptic?
It's not a hot dog. It's some, I forget what kind. It might be like a Portuguese merguez sausage.
Okay.
And it's got some sort of slaw. It also has like a peppercorn, some sort of peppercorn cream sauce on it that is like mixed in, not really mixed in with the slaw the way mayo is, but like it's very standard. And like as theme park sausages go, it's usually hard to find something that's not just a steamed hot dog. I mean, I also love hot dogs. Hot dogs are one of my favorite foods, so I think it might pair well as a slightly more filling, more interesting hot dog variant. The breakfast Ronto wrap, also very good. So a nice trick when Rise of the Resistance opened and I was there early was like looping your way through Disneyland so that you are in Galaxy's Edge at like 9:55 or right before whenever they stop serving the breakfast one. Then you grab one for a late breakfast and keep moseying. In terms of desserts, I think the one that I decided I had to go with was the boysenberry fun bun at Knott's Berry Farm, which I don't know actually if they always have it or if it's only during the Boysenberry Festival. But a fun bun is basically like a giant funnel cake, like mound of fried dough, and during the Boysenberry Festival, at least, they cover it in a very delicious boysenberry sauce. It's something that I don't think a person could ever eat on their own. But if you're with a couple other people, great to you split among four and it is no problem. But I think it's got a nice combination of that like super decadent theme park food that you really wouldn't get anywhere else, the way the funnel cake works, with like a little bit of variation and some Knott's boysenberry thrown into it. I think it's a very good representative of, hey, here's a unique thing that this regional park has and you're really only going to get here. In terms of drinks, butterbeer. If we wanted to say butterbeer was a drink that is like Shane said, butterbeer I think is one of the best walking around drinking thing. Dole Whip float maybe also falls into that category of like, is this a drink? Is this dessert? I don't know, but it's if I'm at a Disney park, I certainly love walking around with a Dole Whip float, half drinking, half eating it. And also back to Knott's, the boysenberry beer that they usually have, which I think is always brewed by some local Southern California brewery. In general, is a very good, again, sort of unique thing to the festival. Nowadays they have it year round, but it's a flavor that a thing that you aren't going to find outside and fits well with the theme of the Boysenberry Festival and like an only at Knott's kind of thing that you can't get other places. Which I think, in terms of when you think of lots of theme park drinks, like drinks are usually a thing that is not. There's not really like specialty drinks in theme parks too often, unless you're at like a super themed section of a Disney park or a Universal park. So I think as something that you can really only find in a regional park, I think is a very good, unique item. And then I think for the like wild card snack thing, I'm going to go back to Disney again. My go-to, like, I'm hungry but don't want a full meal. I grab a skewer from Bengal Barbecue in Adventureland at Disneyland, and that's always consistently high quality. There's enough little variation of the different skewers they have. It's one of the few things where you can just get a single skewer, and it's not cheap because it's Disney, but it's like, you don't have to get, here's a plate that comes with 2 of these and 2 sides and all of this that costs $20. It's, no, I can get a single skewer. It's $5 to $10, and I can snack on that as I wander around to whatever I'm getting to next. So I think it's a very solid snack.
As an East Coaster, what is Bengal Barbecue? I mean, what is it? Yeah, go ahead.
It's like a quick service stand. So it's like it's in Adventureland, and it's basically sort of Asian flavored. So like chicken teriyaki skewer or like a beef skewer with sort of Asian flavors on it. Similar, I think, to some of the stuff. I mean, one of my favorite restaurants that I've eaten at Magic Kingdom was Skipper's Canteen, the newest restaurant here. Similar flavor profiles to that, and that's kind of Asian-y, but it's basically, it's a stand. They've got mobile ordering at Disneyland, which is fantastic. The first time I used mobile ordering at Disneyland, I was like, well, I never need to not do this again. But it's, meat on a skewer. They've got some vegetarian options. I think you can get plates that have, like, rice and some vegetables with them, too. But it's basically, like, a perfect snacking option that's more unique than a corn dog. Again, love Disneyland corn dogs. Nothing wrong with that. But, like, something that is, okay, you're not going to easily find this somewhere else.
Right. Well, I will go with mine. And this was I'm a person who likes to eat. And narrowing this down was pretty tough. But for my favorite restaurant, I got to go with Harmony Hall at Carowinds. And it came down to Harmony Hall and the new Blue Ridge Country Kitchen, just because everything there, it's cooked on site. It's delicious. They smoke their own brisket. They have their own pulled pork. They have their own signature barbecue sauce. Going into Carowinds, having a brisket sandwich with some mac and cheese, that is one heck of a lunch at Carowinds. And
I remember specifically when we were there visiting, you can also smell Harmony Hall from... Is it from any of the roller coasters? Is there a particular roller coaster that you can smell when they're smoking the brisket from?
Oh, Intimidator. It's right...
Intimidator.
It's right there. You're going up the lift hill, and, you've got this lovely Dale Earnhardt-themed roller coaster, but you're catching a whiff of brisket going up the lift hill, and it is just dynamite. It's super, super tasty. It's super delicious. As far as my entree, I almost went... brisket sandwich and mac and cheese here from Harmony Hall, but I decided to, throw a little variation in there. I believe it's called the Mediterranean Beef at Marco Polo's Marketplace at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
Yeah.
And it is the furthest thing I've ever seen from traditional theme park food. It is hand-carved, marinated beef. There's roasted potatoes. There's mixed roasted vegetables, squash, zucchini, onions. They give you some pita and some tzatziki sauce, and oh my gosh, you sit out there, you're right in that open air amphitheater at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and that became my go-to kind of on a whim. A visit 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't think I've had lunch anywhere else in the park since, just for that reason. Sweet and dessert, another one that was, you could have gone blue ice cream here. You could have gone with a Dole Whip float, like you mentioned, Eric. But again, in an effort to have John allow me to keep writing for Coaster101, I'm going to go with the cinnamon bread from Dollywood here. And you got to get it hot, and you should be able... I mean, it's tough to finish. I've seen people on Twitter who have finished an entire loaf of cinnamon bread by themselves. I say hats off to you, but it is just super decadent, super good, super tasty. I don't want to say super good, but super tasty. And walking around Dollywood with some cinnamon bread or sitting there just kind of taking in the atmosphere it's a fantastic way to experience Dollywood.
I think one of the things that I thought about for our top question of combining restaurants would be, I would love to combine the gristmill where they make the cinnamon bread with some other restaurant at Dollywood, so that I could have one slice of cinnamon bread as a dessert with a meal instead of getting a whole loaf. I think that would be a good theme park food combo.
One slice of cinnamon bread. Dollywood, if you're listening, you should credit Eric with that idea and sell it everywhere in your gift shop, and you would sell out.
Yes, smaller portions of cinnamon bread, easier for snacking.
Plus, you would get the smell of fresh cinnamon bread throughout the park.
Everywhere.
So, I mean, everyone wins. For drink, like Shane and Eric, I like butterbeer. It's a great, theme park beverage that's unique to a theme park. I don't get the frozen skepticism, but we're again another topic for another day. But I gotta go with a margarita from La Cava del Tequila at Epcot. And if you don't know La Cava del Tequila, if you go inside the Mexico Pavilion, inside that Aztec pyramid, there's a little kind of hole in the wall bar. Very small capacity, even smaller today probably with given the current global situation. But it is just a bar with top shelf tequila. They've got all these craft margaritas. I know for a while they would make them in front of you. Recently they've gone to pre-mixed margaritas, and I think they've gone away from that now with the COVID protocols. But they're some of the best margaritas I've ever had, and I just enjoy walking around to Epcot and World Showcase with a margarita. Last time I went to Disney, I had a margarita at 10 in the morning, which, because you're at Disney, it's acceptable, and people don't judge you for it.
Yeah, so, no rules on vacation.
No, none.
That's one that I also strongly considered. I think it's as lots of people know, drinking around the world at Epcot is very fun. I think that's probably the best thing to get. I think the 2 times I've been, it's also the bartenders are very good. I have gone in, they've got a big extensive menu of different margaritas that have slight different variations, but lots of times I've gone in and just said, I'd like a mezcal margarita and a little bit spicy, and the guy will ask me how fancy a mezcal I want, and then pick one, and he'll make it. And so it's totally easy to just say hey, I like this flavor, can you make me one similar to that? And they are very capable of doing that.
And the thing I like about La Cava del Tequila is they're not as active as they used to be on Twitter, but they have a Twitter account that is not really managed by Disney, so they can tweet about margaritas and alcohol, and they don't have to have the three caballeros in the background. For the wild card, I couldn't pick one. I know I'm breaking my own rules here, but one of the most unique things I tried during a visit to Legoland last year was their apple fries. And basically, for the uninitiated, Legoland, it's kind of their signature dessert. They take an apple, they slice it, and it's deep fried and covered with cinnamon sugar, and it's served with whipped cream, and it takes all the good things of an apple pie and puts them in a cup that you can walk around with and eat, and it's just hot apple fries. I think that ended up being my lunch at Legoland the day I was there, just because it was 3:00. I had not eaten lunch, and I was like, I need to eat something, so I'm just gonna go crazy on these apple fries. But other than that, I've got to give a shout out to the pretzel nuggets and beer mustard at, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but it's Beste und Brezel und Bier, which is, go ahead, Eric, you know what
Beste Brezel und Bier.
Yes.
There it is.
I think. If my high school German is still fresh enough.
Good. Which, in English is best pretzels and beer. And they make those pretzels in-house. I believe they make the beer mustard in-house, and it's served hot. And that is a savory theme park snack that you cannot beat, in my opinion.
Which park was that at?
That's Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
Okay.
So it's right there by Mock Tower, so you can get a picnic table outside. You can watch people kind of go up and freak out on the drop tower. You can kind of hear the screams from Verbolten. But those pretzel nuggets, yikes! I have done so much damage on those pretzel nuggets over the years. It is not even funny. So those are that would be my elongated. I mean, there's 4 spots on Mount Rushmore. I gave you guys like 6 or 7, 8 things. So, and I was the one who came up with the challenge here. So, oops, sorry, not really sorry.
Any other honorable mentions that you considered including, Andrew or Shane?
Carowinds had a food festival a couple years ago called Taste of the Carolinas, and one of the items there was the tomato pie, which I believe was in the South Carolina Low Country booth. I'm not familiar with that area of geography of South Carolina, but that was delicious, and that's something I just think about all the time, is that tomato pie. I don't really think about it all the time, but whenever I'm at Carowinds, I certainly think about it.
Somewhere, I know on the website we have a couple posts about best things that we ate or reviews from Taste of the Carolinas, which I think that was sort of my thought. Is like, I know that there are really good things that I've eaten at lots of food festivals, whether it's Boysenberry Festival at Nuts or Taste of Orleans at California Square America or any of the ones that happen at California Adventure. I can't remember any of the specific ones, but I'm sure there are. I think certainly with the Cedar Fair parts, that's now usually my go-to of food is like, try and go during a festival and get a tasting card and have whatever they've got.
I tried some of the food at Grand Carnival at Dorney Park, and that was great. And that's a lot of the Cedar Fair parks have the Grand Carnival event now. So I think I had some sort of like apple cinnamon whipped cream thing from the Germany booth, and it was fantastic. But all the food at that event looked awesome. I wish I could have tried it all. So Grand Carnival definitely had some great food and drinks that I got to try.
And I didn't even think about Grand Carnival. That was a fun night at King's Dominion because I had a tasting card, and I ate my weight in food at Grand Carnival that night. There was a nice. It was like a steamed bao bun that was really good, and both the Italian. There was like a meatball that was really good, and then the arancini, I believe, like the rice balls. Oh my gosh, really good! I cannot wait for that to come to other Cedar Fair parks next year.
Maybe our secret Mount Rushmore location is just food festivals is really one of the things on Mount Rushmore.
This is true.
These days, those are pretty good.
That about does it for this week's episode of the Coaster101 podcast. As always, you can find us on social media. We're on every major social media platform and even some of the minor ones at Coaster101. If you've got any feedback about the podcast or have any questions for the hey, let's get to know the podcast segment at the beginning of the show, feel free to drop us an email at podcast@coaster101.com. As always, thanks to JM Music Design and Justin Mabry for providing our theme song. Shout out to Eric and Shane for their time. I'm going to go eat something. So you guys have a good one, and we'll talk soon.